So, this video was inspired by a comment I saw last week. I'm in no way attacking this person, and I'm actually very grateful for their contribution to the discussion. And once upon a time, I used to think similar to them. So, there's obviously an issue with Steam. This year alone, over 18,000 games were released on the platform. This has been a growing trend year after year, and it's for a few reasons. First, the barrier to entry has been lowered on Steam. Before, they would pick people through sort of a black box process, where none of us really understood how you got on Steam. Then they moved to Steam Greenlight, but that also changed to just giving Steam $100 and getting your game approved. And getting your game approved isn't really that hard. As long as your app isn't a virus, you're mostly allowed to release your product and sell it to the world. This has created a world where a large number of amateur and low-effort projects have been released and are sort of just taking up space on the storefront. Now, about 20 years ago, most of these developers would have released these games mostly as either freeware or as flash games. But now that they have an avenue to make money, they all want their shot. This is all in conjunction with easier-to-use tools. I remember when I used to make flash games, and I would think to myself how much easier it was than trying to write games in C++ or even XNA. However, even the scripting language in Flash had a bit of a barrier to entry. Outside of purchasing or acquiring Flash, you still needed some basic understanding of programming to actually create something that was more than just a point-and-click game. Nowadays, we have a number of game engines with no-code solutions. And even if your engine doesn't have that, there's likely an asset store where someone is selling a game in a box. This has opened the ability to create a game to the masses. But like with all things, the democratization of tools has its pluses and minuses. Without these tools, I'm not sure if we would have gotten games like Undertale or Hotline Miami, or most of the other games that are made in GameMaker Studio. On the downside, we have a large number of underdeveloped projects, asset flips, and other low-effort projects. Even outside of that, we also just have many games that aren't very good or aren't quite ready for prime time. Sure, the dev might be ambitious and worked very hard on their project, but the quality just isn't there. I'm not one to pick anyone out, so I won't point to any specific examples, but I'm sure we all know of such projects. I used to think that this was a bad thing. I thought that if someone didn't want to take the effort to learn how to properly program, you didn't really want to make a game. But the more I thought about it, the more I had to start to critique my own mindset. I'm not much of an artist, and honestly, programming is only one of at least 4 parts of making a game, being design, graphics, audio, and programming. I can make music. I believe I'm at least a half-decent designer and a pretty good programmer. But I can't draw that well. I mean, I get by, but my art skills are questionable at best. So I had to ask myself, since I never really took the time to learn how to draw, am I less of a game developer for it? Despite spending years developing my design and programming skills. Well, no, and neither are they. Some people are artists who struggle to learn how to code, while others could be a great storyteller who just want to see their vision come to life. We all have to start somewhere. On the other hand, we're all full of ideas, and most people's ideas are not very good. I'm not even that creative in comparison to many of the amazing developers. I just happen to be handy with a few programming languages, and have dedicated myself to the craft. So since most people aren't actually that amazing with their ideas, most games, even designed by technically skilled people, just aren't going to be very good, combined with easy-to-use tools, and, well, you sort of know the rest. However, even if your story, design, concept, gimmick, or whatever isn't very good, I still think that it's best that you still see it through. Maybe even try to get some feedback from players, and not just put your game up for sale on Steam. Maybe instead just stick to itch.io, or other free places where you can put up your game. Though I still think your project is just as valid as any other major commercial endeavor. And I think that might be sort of where the issue is. When a game is made for free, people seem to think that it has a lesser value, and as game developers, it sort of bruises our egos. Because even if you're not charging for something, you still used your precious time, creativity, and sometimes money to create these projects. And we really just want people to respect it in the same way that they respect big AAA experiences. So maybe that's something that might require a bit of a change of mindset in both game developers and gamers themselves. Now, where I draw that line are all these lower effort projects that just copy a popular work to grab hold of the popularity of an existing trend. These uninspired attempts to profit off the work of others by riding the wave of popularity is just wrong. It's wrong in gaming, as well as other forms of entertainment. Indies in all mediums should do their best not to do this. Instead, you should try your best to create things that are unique to you. That doesn't mean that you can't be inspired. I mean, Hand Cannon draws heavily from Mega Man, but it will still stand on its own as a unique experience once it's released. And I also have nothing against assets bought from various stores. I mean, even the AAA industry does use those assets. But if you really care about your project, you should do things to those assets to make them your own. Sure, sometimes we just don't have the ability or skills to create things from scratch, but it doesn't mean that you can't rework a foundation and make something truly unique. And then lastly, we have money. I'm not saying that you can't make games for the money, but if you're looking to strike it rich, you're likely looking at the wrong path. And even so, if money is your only motivator, I don't want to play any of your games. I'm partially motivated by money myself, but I also love to make games. And even if nothing I make ever really takes off, I'll still continue to make my games the way that I want to. I think the vast majority of developers working on their dream games feel the same exact way. I don't want to see fewer developers. I want to see more passionate developers. And I want to see those developers create new games and unique experiences. However, I still want those up-and-coming developers to be a little more critical on themselves, especially when evaluating if your game is actually worth money or not. Just because something is valuable to you doesn't mean it's monetarily valuable to others. I've personally released a number of my own games for free, and will likely still release free projects in the future, because not everything needs to have a monetary value. Charging or not charging for a game doesn't make you a real game developer. Making games does. So go out and make great games. I know that's easier said than done, but that's half the fun in it all, right? Well, that's it for today, everyone. Thanks for watching, and thanks for your time.